What I've told people continually is like, we can't do anything about the growth. The growth is going to happen whether the city government or anybody else says they like it or not. Like, people are just going to move here. We get projections from the state that kind of tell us what our growth projections are. So our best recourse in that is just to manage it smartly.
Today, we're going to be sitting down with Matt Cole, who is the mayor of Ridgefield, to talk through the growth in Ridgefield, the plans moving forward, and why this is a city that you need to check out. The fastest growing city in the state of Washington in the past 5 years, averaging over 10% growth via population over the past 5 years. Mayor of Ridgefield, Matt Cole, thank you for taking the time to sit down and connect. And mayor of the fastest growing city in the state of Washington. I mean, that sounds pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's a kind of a fun little like brag point. You know, like with our growth is kind of, our residential growth has dipped off a little bit. I don't know if we're officially the fastest growing anymore, but we are definitely like in the top 3 to 5 for sure.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's something I flex on it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's just talk through kind of how you got to this point, starting off, the mayor of Ridgefield. You know, how does that come to be? You've been city council since 2022. Just walk me through your journey and getting into that role.
Yeah, so I was always like an art nerd in school, like in high school and an early part of college. And then I always had a love for history. And I discovered like this, I got this political bug midway through college, and I transferred and changed my major to political science. And then I graduated with a poli-sci degree. And then after that, I joined the Navy Reserve, and I was working at the state legislature for a while. I did a policy gig up there and then did a few other political gigs, which was a lot of fun. But then ultimately kind of felt called back to the creative area. So I've worked in marketing for quite a bit, but when my family and I moved to Ridgefield, I guess almost 9 years ago now, we knew we were going to be calling this place home for the foreseeable future. And I thought, let's dig in. I want to get involved in something. And it's always kind of funny because I applied for our Parks Board and our Planning Commission probably 3 different times each and was rejected 3 different times for each of those. And finally, the mayor at the time, Don Stowe, he calls me one day and he says, hey, I've seen you've applied for this, a bunch of these positions. And it's like, we just don't have anything for you right now. The thing I do have for you right now is this mosquito control board. Are you interested in that?
Really?
I didn't even know what that was. And I just immediately said yes, like whatever it takes to get involved. And so I did that. And ultimately that led to a position on the Planning Commission. And then when Don had retired early in 2022, it left a seat open. So I just thought, well, I think here goes nothing. I'm going to apply for the appointment. So I was appointed unanimously by council at the time. And I thought, I'm just going to be a backbencher. I'm just going to sit here and do my job. I'm going to vote. I'm going to participate as a community leader. But I had no desire to kind of do any more than that. And then, you kind of fall in love with it. You kind of learn the ropes a little bit more. And just one thing led to another. And last year, when Mayor Onslow retired, it just sort of like everyone kind of like pointed to me, like, you got the short straw. So it's like, I wasn't sure if I was ready for it, but I thought, here we go. We're going to give this a shot. And I've done it. And so I've been mayor for about a year. Absolutely love it. It's probably one of the best jobs in the world.
If you're enjoying the episode so far, make sure to check out lenderconnorwebb.com to reach out and get in touch. If you're interested at all in buying, selling, or refinancing in the Pacific Northwest, I'm licensed in Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, and Arizona. Make sure to reach out. Let's connect and see if it makes sense. Yeah. And so what exactly does the mayor do? We talked off air that it's a lot of the public-facing stuff, the interviews.
And Ridgefield, so you are number one, like you chair the council, so that's sort of like the one aspect of it, and then you're also I guess I call it the brand ambassador to the city. So it's a lot of regional stuff. You're representing the city at the legislature very oftentimes, or at regional boards and commissions in the community. So you do a lot of community engagement stuff, which is the fun part of it. I always say that this job is kind of, it's got 2 parts to it. There's the community aspect of it, where you show up for the ribbon cuttings, or you show up to kind of engage with your community, or to kind of do all the outreach and connect with people. There's a policy side of it, which City Council's foundational job is to set policy and budget for the city. And that's kind of what we do up at the dais, on the second and fourth Thursday of every month. So those are the 2 hats you wear. One's kind of like a really left brain policy wonkish hat. The other part is just kind of the extroverted, be a community member and hang out with people kind of thing too. Yeah.
So before we get into the growth of it, I'm curious what led you to move up to Ridgefield in the first place. Like, where did you move from? How did you find Ridgefield? Because back then it wasn't the biggest town. Yeah.
So like I guess originally and I catch flack for this on social media sometimes because people don't like those dirty Californians moving up to Washington State. But that was a long time ago. Originally born in Southern California. My family moved up here when I was in, I guess, for the final time in middle school, and then I grew up in Hawkinson, and I went to Prairie High School and over across the county, and then was in the Navy for a bit and returned home after a while and lived in East Vancouver. But my wife, her grandparents were also California people, and they were looking to kind of find a home. They were looking to be closer to family, so they moved up here, and we said, hey, you know what? Wherever they go, we're just going to go to be near them. And they looked in Sandy, Oregon. They looked in Washougal, and I think each one of those were like, I hope not. I don't want to live in Sandy. But they found Ridgefield, and they moved up here, and we were like, that's it, we did it. And I think we moved within a couple of months, and we rented over in Pioneer Canyon for a couple of years before we bought a home in Taverner Ridge. And so love our neighborhood now. We live just around the corner from them, actually, so our kids ride their bikes over there, and that was really the major onus to moving here. It wasn't anything other than that. I hadn't really spent time in Ridgefield. It was just like, gotta go where family is.
Yeah, and so was that around the time where the intermediate school was open, like 2018, 19 in that range?
No, I mean, like it was a little before that, but yeah, like shortly after that. That's, I always say I'm pre-Rosars.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's how I try and paint myself as old school Ridgefield, because there's people who've been here for generations. But I always say, well, I was here before there was a Rourke or there was a Rosars. But yeah, and then all the other stuff kind of followed shortly after.
I have a similar story. I was born in Southern California also, and my family moved up here when I was in kindergarten. So I've been here for 25 years, and 10th Avenue by Don and Joe's. That was gravel road. There was no battleground exit. So seeing it go from that, and where the Rourke is now was a bunch of cornfields. So to see it go from that to what it is now, and just seeing the future growth and that's to come, it's awesome to be in the go-to place. The first In-N-Out in Washington.
Yes.
Costco just opened. All these different things that bring people to this region. So yeah, let's talk through a bit of the growth and kind of how the city of Ridgefield has managed that. I think it's really cool how on the Ridgefield website you're able to see all of the developments that are happening, all of the permits that are being filed for what's to come. You mentioned that we're not currently the number one, but we're right in that range. 2020 through 2025, we had a population in 2020 of 10,872. Now we're up to 16,480, which is like 52% population growth. And then we're seeing all of the development that's happening. It's a small farm town now turning into a big city, or the next big city. So I guess walk me through the overall planning of what it looks like to get a permit, and then what's to come. Yeah,
totally. So the growth is sort of a tension point in this community, and I think rightfully so, because if you are, like I said, old school Ridgefield, maybe you've grown up here, you spent generations here, and you're sort of mourning the loss of what it was, like this little agricultural community, not a lot going on, kind of a sleepy mill town too, like downtown. And then all of a sudden you see this massive growth. Like you talked to yourself, I think you said 52%. I think my numbers were like 58%, but it's somewhere in there, right? And there's a whole lot in a very short period of time that has changed. And we just talked about that too. Like when I moved here, like to even take Royal Road, I remember discovering Royal Road and I was like, this is like a backcountry road. And now it's kind of a major arterial that goes to the city. Yeah. And, but what I've told people continually is like, we can't do anything about the growth. The growth is going to happen whether the city government or anybody else says they like it or not. Like people are just going to move here. We get projections from the state that kind of tell us what our growth projections are. So our best recourse in that is just to manage it smartly. I've always said smart growth, and that means how we zone. Where we put different areas, so like on city council, we have 7 goals, and the first 2 are 1, plan and manage the growth of the city, and the second one is preserve historic downtown as a destination point. And those 2 are very important to me because, again, the smart growth component of it, but that downtown aspect of it means that we recognize that there are certain areas of Ridgefield that need to remain true to what Ridgefield has always been, right? This quaint, people call it Mayberry. I don't love that, but like this quaint, really kind of close, small, familiar community, and we've done that, I think, really well. Like as you move out of downtown area, you get the Pioneer Village. That's kind of like our neighborhood and community businesses. It's a very walkable area. We have some multifamily housing around there, which I think is really great. And there's like all the kind of like the local businesses. And then you get out towards the junction by the freeway. That's In-N-Out. That's Costco. There's a whole lot more to come that you're seeing. And those are our regional businesses. Those will always stay there. What I tell people is like, you will never see a McDonald's or a Starbucks or whatever downtown Ridgefield, because that's not what that's designed for. Yep. At least not while I'm there. And I think we try and plan like those pockets of growth and where we zone so that we have those areas that really meet specific needs for services and housing in different parts of the city.
If you're enjoying the episode so far, make sure to check out lenderconnorwebb.com to reach out and get in touch. If you're interested at all in buying, selling, or refinancing in the Pacific Northwest, I'm licensed in Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, and Arizona. Make sure to reach out, let's connect, and see if it makes sense. Yeah, so looking at the most recent plan from the website with kind of walking through the growth that's coming, this is from 2016. They anticipated that actually, back in 2007, they anticipated that 26,000 people would be here by the time 2024 rolls around. I think we're about 10,000 short from that right now. But now the updated number is about 25,000 by 2035. This is from 2016.
Yeah.
I guess, can you walk me through, it sounds like you guys just went through another phase of looking forward and rezoning with land and the space between Costco and A&A with what's supposed to happen there. Yeah,
so we're right kind of almost at the tail end of what's our 10-year comprehensive plan update. That's the official term for it, right? And so the state has what's called the Growth Management Act, and cities and counties are supposed to plan their growth and their full comprehensive plan. That includes like transportation, capital facilities, includes your climate planning, and then also your residential and commercial zones and all of that. So we've been going through that. We've spent probably the better part of like the last 18 months on that. And now it's more or less like the county is doing their work on it, and then we'll kind of sync up some part like towards the middle of next year and hopefully finalize this thing. And what that does is we get those population estimates. We look at, okay, what has changed since 10 years ago? What do we need to revisit? What is the vision of the community and how has that evolved? And we spent a good deal of that time really doing a lot of outreach. It's surveys, it's these open houses, where we have these forums. We really have made a good effort to get a lot of community input, because what we tell people is, hey, this is your community. You're elected us to manage it. Right. We want to make sure that we are adopting something that you have a vision for your community. So we've done a lot of that. And that includes for us now some urban area expansions. And so there's an area north of Costco for one, I think it's about 200 acres, where it would be it'd be a lot of mixed use, so probably more dense housing. And we have a lot of, number one, the housing density target we're trying to hit, and also we want to add more jobs here. So that area in itself would represent 2,000 new homes and up to I think 1,000 jobs over that next 10, 20 year period. And that's really important to us, because that is reflective of our community vision. Now we're working with the county on that, because the county is questioning whether or not we need that. Currently, this kind of gets in the weeds a little bit, but it's designated as agricultural land. The county just completed what was called an agricultural and resource land study, and by state law you have to do that. They do like a soil test, they test the economic and commercial viability of those ag lands to say, is this viable for farming in the long term? What is it characterized by around there? So we're kind of going through that, and there's a little bit of political debate happening within that. But the long story short is that would represent us fulfilling that community vision and providing the jobs and the housing resources we need, while also preserving the identity we have and the density levels we have throughout the rest of town. Because
last time we spoke, essentially there's no actual farming that's happening on that land. It's just zoned agricultural, so you can't technically build on it right now.
Yeah, so there's this idea. It's called like what is it characterized by? And so like at the city we say, if you look at it, you say you have Interstate 5 directly to the east of it, and you go over that. That's within city limits. On the other side of the freeway over there, it's planned for urban development. Just to the south of it is Costco and Union Ridge Town Center. All that big commercial growth is happening. Just to the west of that is Paradise Point and a couple of other new developments. And so all around it, and then to the north, you have the Cowlitz Tribe. So all around that, to me, if you look at it, is characterized by urban growth. And so we've looked at it and said it's sat fallow. It's called an industrial reserve overlay. It means it's been an urban holding for better part of 30 plus years. So it hasn't been actively farmed, it hasn't been developed, it can't be. And so what we've heard is like, hey, the people who own that land would like to probably sell that, and they don't think it's viable for farming. It's characterized by urban growth, and so we said it just makes sense to bring that in, and that's how we can meet those density targets that the county and the state are requesting of us. So that's why we've done it that way. That's why we've taken that position.
Yeah, and just talking about some of the stuff that is now in Ridgefield, technically, A&A is in Ridgefield, technically.
Technically,
right?
yes.
Too.
Yeah.
And then there's the amphitheater, the Ridgefield Raptors we have now, Costco, like I mentioned, In-N-Out. There's Tri-Mountain Golf Course, the wildlife refuge. I did not know that there's like 200,000 people per year
It's something like that. Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's you don't realize it until you're here, but it is a major attraction for which reasons you just said. And you look at like what makes Ridgefield so attractive to people. Like, why are we getting all this growth? We're along Interstate 5. It's 20 minutes from my door to departures at PDX, right? That's huge for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people travel. You're nested between the 5,000-acre wildlife refuge, and then you have the mountains right to the east of you. Mm-hmm. It's just a beautiful place, and it's one of those, and it's got a lot of buildable areas, that people want to come to. You look at areas like Camas, or you look at even Wilsonville or Gresham. Those are jurisdictions that are all built out already, and so it's really hard. And even Vancouver, like Vancouver's basically begging people to come do multifamily housing, right? They want people to come and do that. We're saying, hey, we want to do housing. People are going to come here. We're just trying to help leverage that, but it's already attractive, and we're just trying to figure out how to smartly manage the growth, because people are going to come here for those reasons.
Yeah, and because essentially Vancouver is completely saturated as far as land. You can't build any more single-family residences in that area, so it's just going to move up I-5. All of this small-town farmland is getting developed. And then also there's the fact that there's no state income tax in Washington.
Yes.
So you could work in Oregon, do stuff over there, 25 minutes away basically to downtown Portland from Ridgefield. And then kind of talking through, I guess looking at some interesting stats. Looking at redfin.com, the people, like where are people moving from to Ridgefield? The most searchers were looking at moving from Seattle, then Los Angeles, then Eugene, San Francisco, and South Carolina, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And then people that are moving from Ridgefield to somewhere else, it's likely Bend or Newport or Astoria, which are interesting, and then Boise. So, I mean, there's been a ton of inflow from California the past 5 years, but then also even people that are in Seattle, it's super... The cost up there is relatively high, and so moving down to this area could be more affordable for some of those people.
And you look at the demographics, and it's a lot of people probably our age who have younger families who are raising kids. I remember when we moved to Taverner Ridge, and we live in a cul-de-sac, and there were in that cul-de-sac alone there were I think 12 or 13 kids under the age of 10 when we first moved there. I mean, that cul-de-sac was full of kids, and so that just kind of shows you what the identity of this community is. And I know that's not only what's here, but that's a reason why people are moving here. They're looking for a place that people can purchase a home, they can live here, they can thrive, there's good schools, and it's just a good environment, and maybe it's more affordable than LA or Seattle.
For sure.
Yeah.
Speaking to, this is kind of my story. I moved up here in kindergarten, like I said, and in 7th grade, my parents got a boundary exception for me to go to Skyview in the Vancouver School District, because at the time, the Ridgefield School District, they felt like there might be more opportunity elsewhere. But I feel like there's a shift happening where there's more funding going into these schools. Obviously, the new schools are being built. There's a new elementary school going in just north of Costco, it looks like. Can you just talk through a bit of the Ridgefield schools and the changes that we've seen? There was a levy that was just passed. Yeah. So just walk through that.
Yeah, I'll talk through that a little bit too. So I'll be careful so I don't cross streams and get in a little bit of trouble. But I can speak to it because I've worked on the last couple of school bond and levy efforts, and my wife is very well connected to that and has been very involved. And what I like what they did, we haven't been able to pass a bond the last couple of attempts. Right. And in fact, I think the last one we did in 2024, it was I think it failed by less than 100 votes. And that is just that is so painful to see, right? And when you look at how people voted inside the city limits, I think that you have to get 60% to pass a bond. That's why it's so tough. Inside the city limits, I think we're pushing 70%. But it's when you get out in more like the wider school district, the rural areas, and I get it. People have larger parcels of land, and property taxes go up as a result of that. They're saying we can't afford that, right. And so it's been a real struggle to get some bonds passed. What I like what the school district did this time is they did a capital levy, and they used what's called SCAP. I forget what it's called. It's school construction. Let me see. School construction. I have it. Assistance program, and those are like matching funds, and so they were able to access those matching funds if they passed a capital levy. And they did, and they only needed 50% to do that. So it meant that it was a shorter term to voters, not over 30 years. I think it was over 5 or 7 years or something like that. And they can leverage only partial of that a portion of that for school construction to build our new elementary school. But that does mean that we're going to have to go out for another bond here in the next few years, because what we hear from the school district is they need, they'll probably need another elementary school. They're going to need to do so. They're desperate need of repairs to the high school. We have a great educational system here in Ridgefield. The one chink in our armor is that we are having a hard time with capacity. Our schools are busting at the seams. And the way that we do school construction here in Washington State is through the bond system. The state constitution says that school construction or school education is a primary function of the state government. And yet we're struggling school districts everywhere are struggling to build, pass bonds and build new buildings. And so that's a real challenge and to get there. So we're working with the legislature to say, hey, look, we got to do something here because we're growing. We're being told we have to grow. We have to accommodate the growth. And yet we can't seem to pass a school bond. Yeah. And that creates a real challenge for us as a community.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers of how many kids were enrolled in schools. Back in 2014-15, we had 2,300 total kids in the school system. As of 23-24, we're up to 4,100. So, and by this point, we're probably around double of what it was about 10 years ago. So just with growth, you have to have expansion in the facilities. And now, so like when I was going to elementary school, Southridge and Union Ridge were K through 6. Now it's moved to K through 4. Yeah. The new elementary school will be the same. They've added the Sunset Ridge, which is 5th and 6th grade. Then you got View Ridge, which is 7th through 8th, and then Ridgefield High School, 9 through 12. And then we also have Clark College, the north side now, up in Ridgefield. Can you talk through that project and what that means?
That was a long time coming, and that was really like Clark College finding where they wanted to go next. But like there was a sign there. I remember for years and years and years, and I remember seeing it and thinking, like, are they ever going to build this thing? And it was shortly after I got on city council. I remember that was one of the first things I did was did the groundbreaking for that. And it's exciting to see that Clark College was finally to realize something that had been a long time coming. It's their advanced manufacturing facility. So again, like when you look at CTE as an education path, working in the trades, all that's hugely important. There's a huge gap in trade work right now that we need to fulfill, and I'm glad that Clark College really recognized that and chose to kind of finally go ahead and build right there. They're also needing some general education there. It's really good for our community, though. It's good for our community in that if you are wanting to attend there, then your school is just right there. It also brings like more sales tax revenue up here, and it's also going to attract new investments in the area too. There's going to be a whole component of commercial development it's already zoned for that. It's ready to go. That it's going to be happening on the east side of the freeway over there, and then also, what we're really hoping for is next is a criminal justice training center. There's one as a temporary location right now in Vancouver at an old elementary school. We're hoping that we can get a permanent home built here too, next to Clark College, and that would be huge for this community, not just for our law enforcement community, but just for the families in Southwest Washington and just for us to have more sales tax revenue coming into our city.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So kind of talking about the I-5 divide, on the west side, it's kind of the consumer facing. Yeah. On the east side, is that the plan to have it be like more industrial or commercial, big building?
No, actually no. And so like you'll notice like for a long time, and you'll see that if you go over there, like Union Ridge Parkway, there's a bunch of warehouses and whatnot. Mm-hmm. City Council, and this predates me, but like that was a thing for a long time. One after another was popping up. And that's nice because you get bigger businesses coming here, but you get with a big warehouse like that, you get something like one job per acre. So like the net jobs out of that is not great for as much real estate as it takes up. City Council fortunately recognized that and said, hey, we're not gonna build any more industrial storage facilities here. What we want is to have like viable commercial and residential growth here. So what you're seeing here on the west side of town and what's been built out will be like the east side will be an extension of that. And you're already seeing that. Elementary school, you see all the new neighborhoods popping over there, which are beautiful. If you're looking in Ridgefield, you should go head out there because it's fantastic. There's gonna be some new commercial development, potentially like another big box store is gonna be coming in over there. And And that's exciting stuff, because what we often hear about from the residents over there is like, we're off here just kind of, in the dark and everything. And so we try to make sure we get over there and connect with those neighbors as well. And with any luck and with a lot of planning, we'll end up with kind of one big united community where it feels like it's just an extension with just a freeway in the middle of it.
Yeah. Then you talked about moving towards downtown, some of the historic buildings. I guess first off, that U-Haul building.
Yeah.
It's cool that U-Haul was started in Ridgefield.
Right, yeah.
Is that a historic landmark, or is that going to be taken down at some point? Because that's like the last building standing right in that spot.
Are you talking about the Greeley building?
The small building heading out west off the freeway?
Oh yes, yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Building?
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that. It'll be interesting, because we just underwent like the largest infrastructure project this city has ever seen. It's a $33 million road widening project. It's beautiful. I mean, it's like so smooth. It was worth the wait, I hope.
Roundabout
everybody,
town.
yes,
Yeah.
and more roundabouts, of course. But that wasn't essential to that project, and so it gets to stay there for now. And I don't know what the owners are going to do, but it is kind of a cool building. I just don't know what's going to happen with it.
Yeah, and then in downtown, are there specific buildings that are labeled, landmarks that can't be taken down? And
yeah, and that was something that, as a part of our comp plan update that we're undergoing, is there's a historic component there that was just kind of like, it was sort of a sub component of that plan. And when we were going through this over this last summer, our city council saw that and like, this is hugely important to preserve this history here. And so we're going to add we're going to move that into its own thing. We still have some work yet to do there. But you have the Greeley building, which is downtown across from City Hall. That was probably one of the first buildings down here. I think it was built in around 1920s or so. I think it served as like a car dealership. Charles Greeley sold Model Ts out of there.
Wow.
For a long time, we called it the bus barn. It was like the school maintenance facility. And then I think last year is when the Port of Ridgefield said, hey, you know what? Like, that's not really conducive to a maintenance facility where you're at. We got this space up towards the junction, which would be better for that. We would like to make an investment in that property. And so they did kind of a property swap.
Okay.
That building's going to need a lot of work. I think something upwards of like $10 million just to refurbish it. But it could be a really cool space, and we're going to open it up for temporary use this winter to do some winter market stuff in there. I think we might be temporarily relocating our food trucks there while they do some upgrades to the carts in the park. But yeah, it's there's going to be some cool things happening there, and that is like one of the cooler older buildings here, along with City Hall, which used to be a bank. So yeah,
and there's a lot of older homes kind of in that region.
Yep.
So I'm curious. I imagine that there's laws against how high they can build in downtown
There is,
Ridgefield.
yeah. I forget the height limit. I'm going to say 75 feet, but knowing that I could fully be wrong. But we do have a height limit, because as you look out there, overlook the waterfront across into the refuge. The city has wisely said, we don't want to obstruct those views. We have a beautiful view. We're not going to do that. And then that will kind of tie into the waterfront redevelopment project, which is going to be kicking off here and will be happening over the next few years as well.
So yeah, talking about the waterfront development, the big thing that was completed in September 21 was the overpass. Finally, that was taken care of. I guess looking into it, that was about 2 decades in the works. They started back in 1998.
Yeah.
That took $17 million total. $8 million was federal, $8 million state, and then $1 million from the port. So currently, the Port of Ridgefield owns 41 acres on the waterfront down there. Do you know what the ideal vision of that is? Is it kind of like the Kalama waterfront? Is it Vancouver waterfront? Is it somewhere in between?
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head there. It's over 2 decades worth of reclamation has happened there. I think $90 million has been invested in that overall, and so it's been quite an effort. There, for those who don't know, there was a lumber treatment mill that was there for a lot of years, and they just put all those chemicals like creosote into the ground and just soaked it up there. So you go there right now, and you notice if you're in the boat launch next to it, the dirt goes up. That was all brought in there because they had to remediate it really heavily and bring in new dirt. And so the Port of Ridgefield secured a developer, a master developer for that area, and they're getting together to work on a master plan for that. The first step will be a waterfront park, so it'll be a kind of a trails, and there's going to be some nature aspect of it. There's going to be a play area. There's going to be an outdoor amphitheater. Okay. Something we did, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, is we went with the port commissioners and the city council, and we toured. We went to Kaminista-Washougal and looked at what is their plan and their vision for their port. We went to downtown Vancouver's waterfront. Then we rolled up to Kalama and saw that. And the message we heard from every single one of those, unprompted, everyone said, you know what, if you're going to do this, if you're going to do a waterfront project like that, think big, go for it, because you won't regret it, because number one, it's an economic driver. Number two, you're going to wish you had, because there's just so much potential right there. And we looked at each one of those and we said, here's things we like about each one of these. I love the Kalama waterfront up there.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be a carbon copy of that. I want to have our own thing. But there are elements of that up there that I think are really, really cool. The open spaces, the amphitheater, the little boardwalk. And then Vancouver's great too, but that's just not us.
Yeah.
So they're working on the design of that right now, and it's going to be taking shape over the next few years.
If you're enjoying the episode so far, make sure to check out lenderconnorwebb.com to reach out and get in touch. If you're interested at all in buying, selling, or refinancing in the Pacific Northwest, I'm licensed in Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, and Arizona. Make sure to reach out, let's connect, and see if it makes sense. So talking more about the waterfront, 12,000 launches, including boats and non-motor vehicles, which is interesting. And then talking about the wildlife refuge, I mentioned this off air. Apparently there's 200,000 plus visitors that visit the refuge every year, which is wild because it doesn't seem that busy. I live over in Taverner Ridge myself as well, so we drive by there. Can you just talk through the refuge, what that means to the city, and maybe future plans for it? Is anything going to change with that?
No, nothing should change. And like that's all federally owned and maintained. And so there is the Carter unit, which is kind of up Main Avenue, and then kind of where we live by the dog park over there is the drivable route you can go through. And so there's two kind of points of interest there. And so it represents a huge attraction to this community. In fact, a lot of people, you'll talk to people, and I always ask people, like, how'd you move here? How did you end up in Ridgefield? It's always an interesting story. It's a good icebreaker. And a lot of people will tell you that and say, hey, we were driving through, we were looking for a place to live, or we were coming down, we went to the waterfront, we wanted to go to the refuge and explore that. And we're like, wow, this is a really cool community. And then they end up just kind of staying. So it's a huge component to this community. Now, again, it's federally maintained. They just built like the new visitor center right now. While all the kind of the turbulence happening with the federal budget and everything like that, they're waiting to furnish it and staff it before they can fully open it. But construction is done down there, so we're hoping that in the spring or maybe summer that we'll be able to fully open it up to the public, or they will. But for us as members of this community, it's just good to have that gem in our backyard and to be able to look out there. Yeah. And in fact, a lot of what we do, if you look at the waterfront project we were just talking about, if you look at how we're going to develop downtown or anywhere else, like there's a great deal of care paid to making sure we preserve that aspect of that, because we recognize that is something that is really rare. Like not every community has that. And you don't want to disturb that. You don't ever want to jeopardize that. And people love it. We go there. I go there with my kids all the time. We go for walks in the summer. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how big did you say it was?
5,000 acres.
5,000 acres.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know how many species of?
I don't. I'm middle-aged. I'm not quite to bird watching middle-age yet.
Pull out the binocs.
Right. Because that's I heard what happens. But no, I don't know. But I do know that it used to be just open pasture. So a lot of farmers here just let their cows rain on that, and then ultimately they sold it off to Federal Trust, and that's what we got now.
Yeah, awesome. And then talking through the baseball team, and the Rourke, which is awesome. You and I both play adult league baseball, still 30-plus league. Yeah. Got some games there. But the Ridgefield Raptors came to town. They were founded in 2018. 2019 was their first season. As of 2025, they had 35,700 total fans, which is averaging over 1,300 per game. Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, this is a college summer wood bat league, which is the top talent in the country, basically, that is coming into town right here in Ridgefield in the West Coast League. Can you just talk about what having, a complex like that is for the city, having the Raptors in there, and then also there's going to be University of Washington is going to be playing at the University of Portland in Ridgefield in 2026. Yeah, it's
really, really cool. And I'm a baseball guy. I know you are too. Yeah. And so to have that as a feature in a community, I mean, it's just and right down the road from, I think, where we both live, we have season tickets. We'll go down there. We can be from my door in our seats at the ballpark in probably sometimes under 10 minutes. Yep. That's how close we are. And I remember when that first opened up, we had just moved to Ridgefield. Not too long before that, they kind of announced the team was coming. That's how I met Gus, the GM of the Raptors. And I just I had to reach out to him. I was like, I'm so curious about this. I want to tell me more about it. And we met. We've had a good relationship ever since. But it's really cool to have that. And you're right. It's not just D-League baseball or anything like that. These are Div 1 players that come in here, or across the country. Quite a handful of the guys from play on the Raptors and other teams go on to play in the big leagues. And it's
You'd be
really cool to
surprised
see
how many
that.
guys.
Yes, and it's just fantastic to see that. And what I love most about it, and this is also kind of part of what I love about the game of baseball, is that you can go, I can go on a summer night. I think there's like 30 something home games this season or something like that. So between May and August, you can go there and you can show up for a ball game. You can put your chairs out on the lawn if you want. You can sit in the stands. You can watch a ball game. You can connect with your neighbors, your friends, your community, and it's just a gathering place. And you just kind of feel like at home. And it's people come from all over Clark County, but it's a lot from Ridgefield. And I just love that we have that here because it does a lot economically to build the community. It does a lot to build a profile of our community. It just makes it attractive. And it's one of those things that we really love our partnership with the Raptors because of what they've reinvested into this community as well. It's just fantastic.
And whenever I talk to people about baseball, there's the people that will actually watch on TV. And then there's people that are like, yeah, it's fun to go to a game.
Yeah.
And so if you're that type of person that needs to go to a game, it's right there. It's top competition. You get the nice summer breeze. It gets pretty windy out there, but yeah, it's a great spot for a summer night in Ridgefield.
No, it totally is. And there's two kinds of people, right? And I'm the kind of guy I have done this. Like I'll go to a major league ballpark. I'll buy a single ticket, go by myself because I just want to watch a game and just be that close to it. And I'll do that occasionally, but like. There's other people who treat it like a social thing, and you'll see that there. Like you'll see people hanging out, and they're watching the game. We're cheering the Raptors on, and like we're diehard Raptors fans in this town. But the community aspect, I think, really speaks to the value that they bring to this community as well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Well, Matt, really appreciate you sitting down. Where can people find more information about Ridgefield in the future?
Yeah, check us out. Just go to the city's website, which is ridgefieldwa.us is our official city website. There's so much information on there. You talked about like the development maps. If everyone's, people always ask me like, what's coming next or what's that going to be? That's all on a map. Like that's public information we put on there. So check that out. We have a really great communications team, our social media team. They do fantastic work and they put out really good information there. So if you're not following the city on Facebook or Instagram and you live here, you absolutely should because there's also some good things happening in this community all the time and it's a great way to get some information. So those are two great ways to follow us.
Awesome. Well, Matt, really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.